What's up guys, this is John with Skate Better, and today I'm going to teach you the tips and unlocks for the frontside pop shove it. Alright guys, so today we're going to do the frontside pop shove it. If you want to just see videos of me doing this trick in slow motion, you can go to the very end of this video and I'll include those at the end. So if you just want to watch it over and over, go straight to the end of the video, it's there. And if not, we're going to go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about is foot position, of course. And let's get that going. So you are going to have your back foot on the tail and your front foot is going to be, it could be a little bit further back from the bolts. It could be directly over the bolts. It kind of depends on how wide your deck is and really what a comfortable balancing stance for you is. So like I've seen a lot of people do their frontside shove-its like this. I've seen people do their frontside shove-its with their front foot over here, like Pedro Delfina's sister does them like that. And then like Neen Williams does his like way back here with his back foot way back here. But essentially what you're doing is you need two things to happen. So one is you need the weight between this foot and this foot to be balanced. So you don't want to be like this, but you don't want to be like this. You want to be like right in the middle. So you want to get in a good stance where it feels nice and balanced. And then two, you want to have enough room in your back foot so that you can push that tail this way. So I'll get into that a little bit later, but in other words, like you wouldn't want your foot right here because then when you go to push, you're not really going to have like any leverage on this side of the tail to push that foot. As opposed to if I go here, now I have a lot more room and space to push my foot forward. And that's essentially one of the keys to this trick, okay? The other thing I'm going to tell you guys is a lot of people will be like, you want your toes just hanging off the edge, or actually you want just a little bit, or like I put more of my foot off, and like it doesn't really matter, you guys. Like it depends on number one, how big your shoe is and your foot, and number two, how big your deck is. If you're riding like an 8.0 deck and you have a size 12 foot, you're probably going to have almost half of your foot hanging over. But if you have like a size 8 or like a really small foot, and then you're riding like an 8.5 or an 8.6, then like your toe's probably going to look like this. So like my point, and you can film me for this, is like you just want to be comfortable. Like you just want to be, I'm just switching so you can actually see me. You just want to be comfortable on the board. You want to be in a good spot to where your weight is evenly distributed this way, okay? Not so much this way, like this doesn't matter as much, we'll talk about that in a minute, but your weight's evenly distributed this way, and you have a comfortable setup in like the pocket or tail of this foot to pop, and then your front foot feels like it's in a good spot, stable somewhere over the bolts. So that's pretty much it for foot session. Alright guys, so we talked about foot placement, and now we're going to talk about what actually happens in the frontside pop shove it. So, excuse me on that. So basically, what happens is your front foot, similar to the pop shove it, gets way out of the way. So it's like all the way, like while you're still popping the tail down, your front foot is off. Then that back foot is going to turn the board forward. That board's going to come around, it gets caught with the front foot, and you land bolts, okay? So the secret to this trick, and where people go wrong, and I've seen it online before, is they're going to tell you to push your back foot forward. So they're going to tell you your back foot to go this way. And like if you do that, you might get a nice high pop shove it, frontside shove it, but you're not going to probably get the rotation that you need. And the trick to this, this tip to this trick, and the secret unlock that I found to this trick, and I watched videos over and over, is your back foot doesn't actually go this way. Your back foot goes this way. So it's not like this dramatic scoop around like that, but instead of just thinking about your toes going straight that way, think about your toes going diagonally this way. So like when you snap and that board hits the bottom, you're not snapping this direction, you're snapping this direction, okay? And I know it's like a small thing to think about, but essentially you do almost want to think like you're pushing your back foot forward towards your front foot. So if your front foot gets out of the way before, so in other words, like you have to lift that front foot out of the way, timing wise, like you should feel almost completely weightless in your back foot too a little bit. Before your back foot snaps down, your front foot is already off the deck. That back of the deck is gonna snap around so fast into your front foot, you're not even gonna know what happened. Like a frontside shove it isn't like this, usually it's not like this slow come around. Usually it's like, pow, like it happens so fast. And the reason for that is because that back foot is snapping the board forward like that. So you're still popping it, but you're not popping it this way. You're popping it this way. So it just goes pow right into the front. Your front foot needs to be out of the way, because if it's not, and you go to do that, look at where my heel is. What do you think is going to happen? That board, it's going to very heel flip, which happened to me all the time when I was learning this trick, and I couldn't figure it out why. And the two reasons it happened is, one, essentially, my front foot wasn't getting out of the way early enough. I was like trying to like pop and jump at the same time like an ollie, That's not what happens in a frontside shove it. Like, it's the same thing as a pop shove it. Your foot is basically here, and then your back foot's snapping around. It goes even higher. I know it probably look weird doing that, but that's essentially what's happening when you do the frontside shove it. So back foot doesn't go straight, it goes forward towards an angle. Your front foot gets way out of the way before the tail even snaps, and then it's caught with your front foot. The last thing that needs to happen in this trick for you to land it successfully, and there's kind of two. One is like your front foot needs to stay where it is so it can catch the board, right? So in other words, like, I'm not sucking my feet in and up. It has to kind of stay over that front truck. And the second thing is like your back leg has to lift up. So if you don't lift your back leg up, remember, the front of that board's coming around higher. So if I don't get my back foot up enough, it's either gonna hit me in the heel or in the shin or somewhere that I don't want it to, and I'm not gonna land the trick. So remember, back foot goes forward, front foot gets out of the way before, and that board's gonna snap around really fast if you do it correctly. You have to actually put some oomph into your back foot, but it will snap around and it will feel awesome when you do it. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is balance, and we'll keep it going. All right, so like one of the last things I wanna talk about is balance in this trick. So, and what that looks like. So why balance is important and where it matters in this trick. In this trick, when you're doing the frontside shove it, what I notice is that I have to be completely parallel to the deck. So in other words, like with the frontside shove it, I'm a little more like stance-wise, I'm a little bit more, our balance is more here, like more, I'm going backwards, a little bit more forward. But with the frontside shove it, I am completely parallel, and my feet are almost completely perpendicular. So in actuality, my front foot is slightly out and my back foot is slightly out this way, just to help me get a little bit more tension and pressure to pop the trick. And you'll understand what that means when you start doing the trick more and more. But my balance, like my upper body and the way that my weight is shifted, is directly perpendicular to the board, or like my feet are essentially perpendicular to the board, and my weight is parallel with the board. So when I do this trick, I need to make sure that my shoulders are square, number one, and the board is gonna pivot around this axis point. So like what that means is like the board is essentially gonna snap around that axis point. So that's why it's so important for your weight to be off it, so that back foot can come around and then you can land bolts. So balance-wise, you wanna be completely square with your board, and it's gonna feel when you do this trick like you're jumping backwards. And the reason for that is like when you're standing still, there's two reasons. One is the axis point, once again. So here's the axis point over here. I snap, the board comes around that axis point and lands up over here. If I'm moving with some speed, the board isn't going to come back as much because there's less friction when you're moving this way. There's less mass going down, it's going forward. So it's a little bit easier for those wheels to kind of slide, as opposed to like the board kind of doing this when you're doing it not moving. So once again, like when I'm not moving, there's more friction. The tail's going to snap, the board is going to come this way. But when I'm moving with some speed, and a lot of people will even offset it by kind of leaning this way before they shove, the friction, there's not as much friction, so I can actually snap that tail a little bit further out, and the board doesn't go back quite as far. So just know when you're learning this trick, the board is going to move a couple inches behind you, and you're going to have to jump back a little bit to offset that. So it doesn't mean that you take like this huge jump back, but what it does mean is when you're doing the trick, when you're setting up, you're directly square over it, but when I go to pop, like right here, like right when I'm here, my shoulders are almost like diagonally back a little bit. So like my upper body, you can show my upper body for this. Okay, so like I was talking about balance, and upper body, what I mean is like when I go to set up for this trick, I am completely square over the deck like this, ready to pop. And when I go to actually pop the trick, my torso goes like diagonally backwards a little bit, so that the board is almost already coming underneath where my shoulders are gonna be, and I land on it. So in other words, like it's not like I'm like jumping backwards like a swan dive, but there is a little bit of like this almost like diagonal jump, and it's not like, once again, I'm not going this way, I'm going this way. So it's like I'm jumping up and back, and that's what helps me stay over the board while it's rotating under me. So as far as like leaning front to back of your boards, as far as like leaning this way of the deck or this way of the deck, I find that I have a little bit more of my weight, the tiniest bit, shifted over my front foot, because remember, that's my pivot point. So I want my body weight to be over that, so that way when I jump and I do the trick, I stay over that spot of the deck, as opposed to like, I found that when I was first trying this trick, I would like wuss out a lot, and I would like keep my weight kind of in the center, more towards here, and the board would basically end up like flipping and coming out in front of me. So in order to avoid that, you just want to have your weight almost completely centered, maybe a little bit, tiniest bit over, like 55% over the front trucks, and you should be good to go. So I thought I was ready to finish this video, and I realized there's one more thing I wanted to mention. In between then and now, I grew a mustache, so it's there for what it's worth. So I mentioned jumping back a little bit to land this trick, and in the last video, I kind of had my shoulders going like this, but actually it's the opposite. So like when you jump back to land this trick, it's actually your upper body goes this way a little bit, so you can stay over the board and have balance when you land. So just know, like, you're not arching back like this, you actually are going, your hips are going back, but really like your upper body is staying forward over the deck to help you keep balance. Like not like you're hinging forward, but it's just like a little bit. You guys can watch the videos that I have in slow motion, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So just to recap, top 3 things to land a front shove in my opinion. Number 1 is make sure that your front foot is really up and out of the way before the back foot snaps down, so it's all in the timing. Number 2, when you snap your back foot, make sure it's not just snapping forward this way, but it's actually snapping diagonally forward towards that front foot. And the last thing, make sure your shoulders are completely square, or completely square to the deck. So like you're not like looking forward or angled a little bit, you're completely parallel or perpendicular to your deck, and you guys should be good to go. So hopefully that makes sense. I hope you guys land this trick. I did include a couple videos of me doing this slow motion, so my advice is to watch those over and over again. That's what I do when I'm trying to learn a trick, and I hope that you guys do land this trick. And if you did like this video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Nice. Good job.